Hi, my name is Rawan, and today I'll be discussing the role of media in the light of Aaron Lesser's essay, A New Way to Participate in Mexico City's Urban Planning, from Protests to Politics. In his essay, Lesser discusses the case of the construction of a 0.06-mile highway underpass in Mexico City. The construction of the road, which was meant to improve traffic conditions in Mexico City, involved the removal of nearly 1,700 trees. That resulted in residents in the middle-class neighborhoods of Acacias, Actipan, Florida, Credito Constructor, and San Jose Insurgents, where the underpass was scheduled to be built, to lead the protests. This image shows the underpass entrance. Initially, the protests took place during daytime hours. This changed when the city's Public Works Department (SOPSE) started to bulldoze trees between midnight and 5 a.m. The protests continued until the police used force against the protesters. One of the protesters described it by saying, "Tree mutilators defeated environmental protectors." But the protesters refused to step back and allow the construction to take place without a fight, and so they decided to move from protests to politics. How does that happen, you may ask? Well, neighborhood residents went on to conduct 100 meetings and 38 site visits with municipal officials, leading to 18 project modifications. The city's mayor agreed to modify the tunnel's path in order to preserve a third of the strip's trees and to enlarge the plant park above the underpass. Government officials quietly opened the underpass on 19th of August 2017, 3 years after its originally scheduled completion date. This image shows the linear park above the underpass. Aron Lesser's essay discusses parallel participation because protesters engaged in urban planning through channels parallel to but outside of institutional citizen participation. What is parallel participation? Residents reject formal participatory planning mechanisms such as master planning and neighborhood committees. Instead, they created a new set of tools by engaging academics, horizontal autonomous municipal institutions, the courts, the media, and civil society associations. Protesters used this approach to insert themselves into urban planning decisions from which they had previously been excluded. Although residents did not stop the Disneyville's construction, they leveraged their social, cultural, and political capital to alter the project. They built a new form of participatory, albeit semi-democratic, urban citizenship. Yet this new form of participation largely excluded the city's working-class residents. Parallel participation, therefore, exacerbates many of the city's socio-spatial inequities. Lesser in his essay says, in Mexico, officials often justify top-down planning by insisting that the general public does not have the specialized knowledge necessary to opine on large-scale projects. Developing this expertise therefore allow protesters to engage in government actors through ways in which they were previously excluded. And while that is true, can everyone who's willing to voice their opinion study and gain the expertise needed to do it? No. Still, it is not impossible to make a change. In the article, Lesser says residents generated media attention. Protesters used their contacts to get La Jornada, El Universal, El Financiero, and Milenio newspapers, among others, to cover the protests. People don't overlook the power of media. And when I say media, I don't mean TV or radio that are run by the government, but Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those are platforms that are easily accessible, easy to use, and yet highly effective when it comes to spreading a piece of information. A recent example of that would be what happened in 2020 in Minnesota in the United States. Remember George Floyd? You probably all know him. You know who he is, what happened to him, and the Black Lives Matter movement that started after his death. But how do you know about him? That is the question. Well, through media. Most of us know about him through media. With the evolution of the Black Lives Matter (BLM) movement from a social media post into a global phenomenon, black squares and video footages of protests with associated hashtags such as #BLM, #Blackout Tuesday, and #George Floyd have been pervasive on social media. What distinguishes BLM from other social media movements is that it induced a high level of engagement from multiple brands, which have been historically silent regarding political issues. What happened here is that when someone saw what happened to Floyd, they talked about it and wrote about it. What they said and wrote on social media in a simple post gathered much attention from people all over the world. And the further the story travels, the more attention it gets until large clothing companies, makeup companies, and other institutions started posting about it as well. They made an even larger amount of people know what happened to Floyd. Think about it. Did the one that posted the story first have any political powers? No, but what they did made a change, and they indirectly contributed to the decision that was made for the police officers who committed the crime. Think about it in a broader way. What happened here is not just about a single incident, it's about changing people's mentality when it comes to a certain topic. Now, whenever a discriminatory decision is made to black people, the Black Lives Matter sign will come back. It's a movement for all George Floyds in the world. Moreover, using social media will offer a solution to the problem associated with parallel participation, which is that it exacerbates many of the city's socio-spatial inequities. As previously mentioned, not everyone can have access to the amount of knowledge to hold meetings and discuss matters with larger organizations or even the government. And so, those people are often excluded from decision making. Well, that doesn't apply to social media. Simply, social media is an open stage where anyone and everyone, despite their race or religion, can take part in. Everyone gets to share their opinion there. Some might argue that the stage for all parts are not an advantage, but rather it can worsen the situation by spreading false news. I will answer to that by offering an example. In February 2022, a Kuwaiti telecom company posted an ad on YouTube during celebrating Kuwait's National Day. As the ad hinted on a controversial topic that was going on at the moment, normally the company deleted the ad 5 days after its release due to the uproar. Do you know what happened after the ad was deleted? People started asking, what was the ad about? Why was it deleted? What was special about the ad? All these questions ended with one thought: I want to watch the ad and see what it was all about. You see, the role of media is not to offer reliable information, it's to attract attention and get people to search for themselves for the reliable information. And once that happens, their curiosity will start an uproar which will result in the change needed. People often mistakenly think that their voices are worthless because they are not in a position of power, or because they don't have the support of those who are in power. They think that only the rich and privileged can voice their opinions and make a change. Well, that is not true. One of the biggest mistakes one can do to himself or herself is to assume they are powerless or to underestimate what they can do. Don't think that because the protests could only protect a third of the trees, or that the murderers of Floyd were not subject to the death sentence, that all these efforts were in vain. They are not. And the more you try, the louder your voice will be, the bigger the change you can make. Mark that what I'm offering here is one of many other ways in which you can contribute to make our world a better world. Thank you so much for listening to my video. And these are my works cited.